Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up. Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Well, I took Ruby to get something yesterday that is a rite of passage.
Her ears pierced.
No, well, she has her ears pierced.
Oh, right.
But she got braces.
Oh.
She got braces, and I took Oscar to also the orthodontist, her twin brother, at the same time to get like assessed. And they were like, Oscar, you'd be wearing braces for 6 or 7 months. And then they showed a before and after, which I couldn't tell the difference. And then Ruby, they're like, you'll be in braces for 7 years, poor girl.
You'll be in braces until you have your own children.
Right, forever. And Oscar really wants braces. And I was like, hey, bud, let's talk about this. And he's like, I will pay for the braces with my own money. And I was like, do you even know what you're saying?
Right.
Like, it's not about the money. It's about, you really don't. I was like, cousin Levi didn't need them. And I really don't think you need them. So I'm letting him see Ruby go through all the rigmarole of braces. But my favorite story to tell orthodontists is that Stuart, when he had braces, they did they did a trial on him for a new like concept in braces, which is his bite was off. Do you remember this?
No.
And instead of, now they have this, like, they call it like a Herbst tool or whatever. It's like this arm that pushes your jaw in one direction or the other, but they put magnets in Stuart's teeth. Do you remember this?
No.
You don't remember? Stuart had magnets. He had these giant magnets in the back of his teeth, and they were like opposite. So
Just
they
add
would,
it to the list of things I was oblivious about or didn't care about or ignored. Okay.
he did like a party trick. He could literally stick forks in the back of he would like put a fork in there and it would like stick to the back of his mouth. And I don't even think they don't do this anymore because all the orthodontists look at me like I'm insane. I go, do you remember when that happened? They're like, nope. What? He had magnets in his. I'm like, this is what happens when you're from Alabama. They're like, we're gonna try something fun. we're gonna put we're gonna put magnets in the back of your mouth. We ran out of all that metal, so we're gonna try something new.
That does not feel safe.
Luann, can you come in here and bring the magnets? We also have some super glue because we ran out of the dental cement.
Anyway. What about going through an airport and the scanner? I guess maybe back then, did it matter?
I don't know if he said it all. I mean, look, back then there was the security they'd just look at you, be like, all right, come on through. I don't even know if we all had to go through a metal detector. Didn't we just like were they
back
like,
then they were just like, you look fine. Come on.
You look good.
That's when you could go and meet your loved ones at the gate too. So
that's how I met Aaron. I literally met him at his gate when he flew back into Boston for senior year of college. Now
that is the best thing they ever did, was not allow people to go there, because then there's no pressure to judge somebody based on the fact of them meeting you at the gate versus meeting you in baggage claim versus literally just hanging out in the car waiting for you to get out of the airport.
Which you can't even do. Now you have to time it out. So you're like meet them
now you're
right
in the
at
cell
the same
parking
time.
lot. Right.
It is like a strategy, but I mean, it probably decreased the traffic at the airport also by not allowing people to go inside.
And my favorite orthodontist story about me and my orthodontist.
Well, it's my story and your story.
Did the same thing happen to you?
I think this happened to me, not you. I don't know what you're about to say, so you say it.
I'm talking about the name of my orthodontist.
Yes, and then my orthodontist took over that practice.
No, but it's my story. This is my story. How can you claim this is your story? This happened to me because I had both. So here's the story. And I can say this word because it's actually somebody's name. So I got braces when I was 9 and had them for 3 years. And here's just a little PSA for parents. Levi, our third born, had the worst teeth ever. Like, our friend who's a orthodontist saw his teeth, and when he was like 6 or 7 was like, oh, he'll need braces for like 10 years. By the time he was 15, our boys didn't get braces till they were in 9th grade. And by the time he was in ninth grade, his teeth were almost so perfectly straight that his dentist even said, if that was my kid, I wouldn't do braces. So we didn't, and hopefully never will. So there is a shifting period that happens. Anyway, I wish mommy and daddy had waited on me just to see, but I had braces from the time of 9 to 12. My orthodontist, who was a man, his name was Marion Dick. And of course, every time, when you're in elementary school, where are you going, Allison? To orthodontist. What's the name of your orthodontist? And I'd be like, Dr. Dick. And then everybody would start cracking up because it was hysterical. So fast forward, get my braces off, time for my bat mitzvah, have to wear a retainer, which they say, quote, for the rest of your life, which is not something you tell a 12-year-old. The rest of my life was an eternity. So I stopped wearing my retainer after probably 2 years. Go to college. I come back for a summer to work. And mommy says, you need to go see Dr. Dick and get a new retainer. I said, fine. So I was working at an ad agency. I remember I was covering the phones during lunch break. I was interning there. I was covering the phones, and I finally called Dr. Dick's office. I'm like, my name is Alison Goldstein, and I was bad about wearing my retainer, and I need to come in to get a remold and blah, 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 which, by the way, that tooth mold's the worst thing ever. I would rather get 10 finger pricks than a
So
tooth mold.
gross.
It's disgusting. So she's talking and she's like, okay, we've got you down for next week. And she goes, and honey, I just want to tell you something. Since you've been gone, Dr. Dick has retired. I said, oh. She goes, but it's okay. The new orthodontist has all your records, and we got everything set as if, nothing has changed according to that. I said, okay. So I'm about to hang up, and I say, wait. So who took over for Dr. Dick? What's his name? His name's Dr. Cox.
I mean,
And I called mommy. I was laughing so hard. I called mommy. I said, please tell me this story is as funny to you as it is to me. And we're cracking up. And you can't make that up. You can't make that up. That's your story too?
yeah, because I saw Dr. Cox before you went back to him. Before
Right.
you went back to Dr. Cox, he was my doctor.
Right.
never
But you
saw-
didn't have Dr. Dick. So you didn't have
No.
the transition.
I didn't have the transition.
Right.
No,
It's
but
the
mommy-
transition that's the story.
Right. Okay.
To be fair.
I would love to go see Dr. Cox. I bet they would remember me. I'm just telling you. Everywhere I went, I stuck out like a sore thumb. No pun intended with Dr. Cox's. Anyway, moving forward.
Anyway. So this time of year is very festive, as you know, right? I mean, we talk a lot about, look,
I'm
it's
wearing my
Christmas time.
Hanukkah sweater.
You're
You
wearing,
didn't
you're
even
wearing.
notice.
I did notice. I said before, it's snowmen with Orthodox hats on. What are they?
Yeah.
They're like Hasidic snow people.
Yes.
Oh my
Hasidic snow
gosh.
people. It's men and women. Look, she's
They are
wearing
hysterical.
what
The
is this
little
thing?
ones have yarmulkes on. She's got what is that? A shadel.
Shadel?
Yeah, and
Shidel.
he's got like one of those
The
European
big
furry
furry
hats. That is hilarious. I want that. I covet that sweater. I've got one that says "Oi to the world." And look, we always say Hanukkah only gets some street cred because it happens to land in the same time frame as Christmas, but is clearly, or not clearly, for people who don't know, it has nowhere near the sacred significance of Christmas that Christmas has to Christian people.
Right.
that
It's
are
a minor Jewish holiday. Hanukkah is a minor Jewish holiday. It's not-
100%. Rosh
yeah.
Hashanah, Yom Kippur, those are our sacred holidays.
Even Shabbat is bigger than Hanukkah.
Shabbat's the most important holiday in our calendar, and it happens every week, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I do love Hanukkah, and the Publix near me had an unbelievably wealthy display of Hanukkah supplies, candles and gelt and dreidels and like a light up menorah. And I bought it all. I don't need it, but I always feel like if we don't buy the Jewish stuff, they'll stop carrying the Jewish
I
stuff.
agree.
So I
Yeah.
have a whole bunch. But I have to admit something. I love Christmas. I love Christmas music. I love the
Ugh.
Christmas lights. I love the fact that I don't have to decorate my house or get a tree, but I can enjoy, especially the white lights around the city. I've been listening to Christmas music, and with that in mind, I learned something that I did not know, and I want to
That-
know if you know.
That all the Christmas songs were written by Jewish people.
That is true.
Is-
So many of the famous Christmas anthems, really, and songs are, Leonard Bernstein and, people who, that's why especially I love it. There's an intersection of faith there. No. Do you know who invented the current image of Santa that we have?
No, I don't. Disney.
No. Okay, I'm going to give you one more hint. Think about the colors he wears.
Target.
No, but you're getting
That was a
closer.
good. Oh, Hallmark. I don't know
What colors does he wear?
He wears red and white.
Okay, so what famous world brand also has those colors?
I don't know. That's why I said
In
Target.
your city.
Oh, Coca-Cola.
That is correct.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. So here's what I learned.
Interesting.
I was at a conference actually in Atlanta. I worked for Coca-Cola during the Olympics, and so I knew a lot of the PR. I worked in PR, so I knew a lot of the history of Coca-Cola. But this fact eluded me until I went to the World of Coke recently, and they were saying there are two figures who were sort of like Coke spokespeople, right? One is the polar bear. We all know about the polar bear, and the other is Santa Claus. So, look, to be fair, Coca-Cola did not invent the red and white, although you would assume they did. But in 1931, they commissioned this artist to create a Santa that would be used in their advertisements. And until then, Santa was not this jolly, amiable fellow that we know of today. Coca-Cola literally created the brand of Santa to be part of their advertisements, to drink Coke and refresh and spread holiday cheer. And ever since 1931, we have assumed that nice, amazing, jolly man with the big white beard and the red and white suit is the Santa we've all known and loved. In fact,
Yeah,
that's not
he
true. There have been
used
many
to.
images of him.
He used to look like Gandalf, I have to say.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
he was
Yeah.
more Gandalf, and his fashion changed. I'd say
Yes.
Coca-Cola is responsible for the Santa fashion because he used to have this beautiful long shearling coat that
Yes.
went to the floor. It was like ankle length, and now it's more of a little bit below the tuchus. And
It's a little midi, yes. I think that's fascinating, though, and it's just a
that
reminder
is
of how many
interesting.
things have been ingrained into our culture that we now just take for granted as just being that way. And truly, like, that's got to be the most incredible, like, iconic brand move of any, I think, company in the world that Coca-Cola can claim Santa Claus.
Well, I don't know if they can claim Santa Claus. Maybe the updated imagery, the modernized imagery of him.
Well, the image of Santa that we have today is a Coca-Cola Santa.
I
I
have
mean,
to.
think about it.
So my kids every year are like, how are we decorating for Hanukkah? They want, like, because it's very overwhelming, all the Christmas decorations, and Hanukkah decorations we just don't do that. And
Right.
every year, mommy does forget that she's already given me a Hanukkah banner. So we have about 24, and I put them all up. I'm no joke. I put them all up on our mantle. They're layered at this point. There's
That's
so many different
hysterical.
Hanukkah banners. But this year, I actually. I invested in an inflatable outdoor Hanukkah menorah.
I have
And
one too.
it's 8. You did? You got one? It's
I have
8
I've had
feet.
it. I don't know where it is, but
It
yes.
lights up and it
Yes.
says Happy Hanukkah. And I had to choose between. There are all these inflatables for Hanukkah. One's like a bear with a yarmulke wearing a talit and has a gift box that has a Jewish star on it. There's a dinosaur one. Like, I just couldn't do those because then people start to think there's a Hanukkah bear. Like, they think, oh, the bear's part of Hanukkah, right? It's not. There's not a Hanukkah dinosaur. So I was like, I have to choose something traditional because I feel like we have to represent all the Jews when we put up a giant decoration like that.
I was watching the SNL Christmas special. They had this like montage of all their old Christmas skits. It was on last night, during prime time. So these were all back from the 70s on. And I just happened to turn it on for about 10 minutes. And I happened to turn it on when they were showing Norm Macdonald was still doing Weekend Update. And he introduced Adam Sandler. And Adam Sandler had just written a new song for Hanukkah. And so this was the first time Adam Sandler sang the now famous, song about Hanukkah and all the famous Jewish people.
Well, when I was a kid, this time of year always made me feel a little left out because in school there were so many Christmas songs, and all us Jewish kids had was the song Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel. And so I wrote a brand new Hanukkah song for you Jewish kids to sing, and I hope you like it. Put on your yarmulke, here comes Hanukkah. So much funaka to celebrate Hanukkah.
And I was laughing so hard. First of all, because the song is timeless. Second of all, because it just brought me back to that moment when he sang that song of how connected we must have all felt to him and to SNL and to just that idea of like, just if you feel marginalized, right? Like think about who's Jewish. My favorite line is when he says, Paul Newman's half Jewish, Goldie Hawn too.
Put them together, what a fine-looking Jew.
It is so funny. He is so funny, and kudos to you, Adam Sandler, because you are in your time and ahead of your time simultaneously. I still love that song.
Well, I feel like we have to pay homage to John Lovitz and Hanukkah Harry
Yeah.
also. His Hanukkah cart was pulled by mules.
There you
And
go.
one's name was Shlomo, right? He's
Right.
bringing socks and scarves to Jewish children everywhere.
I'm Moshe, I'm Herschel, I'm Shlomo.
On Moshe, on Herschel, on Shlomo, says Hanukkah Harry 8 nights a year. On Moshe, on Herschel, on Shlomo, means that Hanukkah Harry is here.
You know, speaking of that, it's, when I was listening to my Sirius or XM radio or whatever, the tune-in radio, whatever, I've got my satellite radio the other day and on the Christmas channel. I'm not ashamed to admit it. And you know what? A song came on that reminded me of the timeless message of the season. That's really important. And it's not just about presents and lights and music, but it's also about remembering those who were left behind, those who were ostracized or bullied, and bringing them into the fold and making sure they are seen. Yes, I'm talking about Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. He is the unsung hero of Christmas. I'm not afraid to say it. Think about it. Think about the story. Have you really listened to the words lately?
Yeah, they really bullied that Rudolph, I have
They
to say.
bullied that Rudolph because he had
Also,
that red nose. And look,
apparently, the
it took
female
Santa. It took a popular guy to say, "Hey, he's pretty cool," and then everybody liked him.
It was
What's
like
up
a
with that?
rom-com. They took off his glasses, gave Rudolph a little makeover, and then everyone was in love with him.
Right.
But by the way, speaking of Rudolph as a him, apparently female reindeer are the only ones that actually have antlers during the wintertime. And all the reindeer are ladies. They're lady bosses.
They're lady
Pulling-
bosses. Right.
Pulling that sleigh. So
There you go. Again, a sign of our times that we've got to update some things.
So while we are in the middle of this podcast, because people tend not to listen to the last 5 minutes, just saying that's just what happens, I want to say at the middle of the 30 minutes that this is our last podcast episode of season 7.
Of the season, not ever. Don't
not
get excited,
forever.
Alan. It's not the
That's
last
right.
episode ever.
Why would he get excited? He's the one who. What? That is not true. He is excited, but about every episode. And you also have about 12 more years to go.
How much more on my contract to pay off? Right.
12 more years of podcasting. You're almost there, Allison.
No, this is the end of season 7. That's hard to believe. And for anyone who's wondering how many episodes per season, yes, that's the answer. Whatever number just popped into your head. Whatevs. Whenever we go on an extended break and we're not going to be able to talk to each other and podcast for a few weeks, we decide to end a season. And so it works out great. Typically, this time of year is always a break.
Right.
But after 5.5 years, we have 7 seasons. So we really haven't taken that many breaks.
You would think that we would do two seasons a year, but really it's like
No. Then we'd have at least 10. Yeah.
3/4 of a season anyway. Whatever.
We're pretty consistent. I'm proud of us. So this might be a long story, but it's such a good story. I feel like I have to tell it because it encapsulates sort of everything we're about, which is connection, friendship, and star stalking,
Oh,
right? Okay, it's like I'm set everybody up so they're going to stay tuned for this story. So Alan has a friend. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible. Alan has a friend that he met his freshman year at Northwestern. Her name is Ruthie. Okay, and Ruthie is an amazing human being, still an incredible friend to us to this day. She moved to Israel right after going to college, and has an incredible family. Anyway, we love Ruthie. So when Ruthie was at Northwestern, she was a journalism major and she had the opportunity to interview one of her fellow students who happened to be Cindy Crawford. So if you may remember, Cindy Crawford went to Northwestern, I think, for like a year. And this was at the height of her like modeling career. So Ruthie interviewed her for, I think, like either like the Daily Northwestern, whatever the newspaper or something. And then they became fast friends. And if you know Ruthie, she's an easy person to become fast friends with. She's that sort of affable person who makes everybody feel welcome. But so this is back in, 19, oh my gosh, 86, 87. Um, and they become friends and they've been friends ever since. So we all have known this story. And if you know Ruthie, you know, every so often mentions her connection to Cindy Crawford.
did they still keep
So
in touch?
they still keep in touch. And in fact, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, we're in Israel. We see Ruthie. She had just had a kid. She's carrying around this big bag. She's like, "Ugh, do you love my bag? Cindy gave it to me." And I'm like, "Oh, Cindy Crawford?" She's like, "Yes," which is not name dropping. It's just obvious because they're friends. It just so happened, though, right after we were in
I don't
Israel,
know. It sounds a little name dropping.
it's a little name dropping. Well, we go on this trip. We went on this trip every year with Alan's extended family to the beach, and we're there. And who is at the same resort where we are? Cindy Crawford. Now, anybody who knows me knows, number one, I love famous people, and number two, I love talking to famous people. But
And you
number
love to say
three,
like really embarrassing things to famous people.
sometimes, but more importantly, I like when I have a connection, as flimsy as it may be, to famous people because that's my in to talk to them, right? Whatever that is. So this was obvious, right? Here is Cindy Crawford. Alan is best friends with Ruthie. Cindy and Ruthie are friends. It's a no-brainer. This is right. This is all making sense. So I strategically plan it where I'm standing at the pool and I see her walking and I mean literally walk into her and I say, "Hey, I just want to introduce myself. My name's Alison Lebovitz and we have a mutual friend, Ruthie Ebenstein." And if I was anywhere like halfway around the world and somebody was like, "Oh, we have a mutual friend and she lives in Israel and here we are at the beach," I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, how do you know?" She did not exactly react that way. She was very calm, I would say, and no reaction.
I'm
Was like,
betting people constantly are going up to her and being like, "Hey, Jane, I went to
I
elementary
get
school with her and you were in second grade with her. We know, this probably happens all the
right.
time."
I guess, but how many people are saying they know Ruthie? And I was like, "And we were just in Israel, and I saw the bag you gave her, and we're going on." She's like, "Okay." I'm like,
Oh God,
"All right,
Allison.
nice." It was so awkward.
Yeah.
It was very awkward. It was not the reaction I was expecting. I had to let it go, so I let it go. So a few hours later, I'm back at the pool. Cindy Crawford's on the other side of the pool, and she's talking to this woman who I don't know. But in my peripheral vision, I see Cindy pointing at me, or at least I think she's pointing at me. And of course, in my head, I'm thinking, what could she possibly be saying about me, right? Maybe, "Oh, yes, I am a supermodel, but you see that woman over there? She really should be a supermodel.
She looks good.
She's looking good." None of that was happening.
Or it's
So,
security and they're like, "Can you please keep that woman away from me?"
exactly. We'd like her to be at least 50 feet away at all times. So the woman she was talking to swims across the pool and says, "Hi, excuse me." I'm like, "Hi." She goes, "Hey, this is really weird, but I'm Rebecca." I go, "Hi, I'm Allison." And she says, "I know this is going to sound crazy, but I was just talking to Cindy Crawford." And we're both like, "Of course." I mean, hard to miss. She goes, "And I told her that we have a mutual friend and her name is Ruthie. And Cindy pointed to you and said, 'Wait, do you know that woman? Because she knows Ruthie too.'" And she looks over at me and says, "No, I have no idea who that is." Turns out Rebecca Warkle is best friends with Ruthie's sister, Yael, okay, and talks to her literally 100 times a day. And so here we are at the beach, right?
That's
The
so
two of us,
crazy.
she's from New York, we're from Chattanooga. We both see Cindy Crawford and we use the exact same Jewish woman as our reference point. We started laughing so hard. I mean, because we both had these awkward encounters. So fast forward, there
I
is a
don't know if
point to this
she's still
story.
friends with Ruthie because obviously Ruthie is continuously name dropping that she's friends with Cindy.
I
That
I
that
get
this
it.
is
But listen. So fast forward and the
but this
the
happened like
this is
10
like
years ago.
it's like 15 years ago,
This is
13, 15 years ago. This is a
yeah,
long time ago.
it was a very long
So
time ago.
we kept going back to the same resort as Rebecca and her family. And we've known each other now for 12 and we
Let
became
me
good
guess.
friends.
Cindy Crawford stopped going to that
Cindy
resort.
Crawford never came back. I cannot confirm nor deny whether it was due to me and Rebecca, but she definitely her cover was blown. But our kids have known each other since they were little, all of this. It turns out that Rebecca's daughter, Sari, and our son Levi are now on the same
Oh,
gap year program together in Israel. And
that's
not
so
only
funny.
that, but 2 nights ago, they went and had dinner with
Cindy Crawford.
Ruthie.
Ruthie.
So
Yeah,
Ruthie
that was
sends
my
us a
next guess.
picture. Yes. So well, that was good. So Ruthie sends us a picture of Levi and Sari and her boys, and then this is the best closure to the story. Then Ruthie says, "By the way, I just texted Cindy to tell her with the picture to tell her that she made this match and thank you."
Oh my God, that's so she must remember that story then.
Well, she must have, because first I thought, oh my gosh, Ruthie's going to kill us because Cindy's going to be like, how many people are you telling that we're friends, right? But Ruthie doesn't care. She owns it. And so now Cindy knows that we were legitimate friends and we use that connection for good. Isn't
Yeah,
that great?
that's really funny.
Yeah, it
That's
almost
crazy.
redeems me for Courtney Cox, not quite, but almost. But now Cindy Crawford knows I'm not just like a crazy stalker. Neither is Rebecca. And now our kids have been friends literally for 15 years before they were even on this program together, thanks to our connection to Ruthie and Cindy.
By the way, I like that you said I'm not just a crazy stalker.
No, not just. I am, but yeah. But that
Because you're not denying that you
no,
do a little celebrity stalking. You're just
no,
saying
not a little, a lot. Yeah.
that's not my complete person,
This is a
right?
both and approach. I can be a celebrity stalker and have legitimate ties to a celebrity who I am stalking.
Yes, all true.
This is all true. But I feel, look, that was a great, speaking of holidays, this was a great gift to me. That closure rarely happens with the celebrities I stalk. And it took a while. It took 10, 15 years for this to come full circle, but it was worth the wait. Cindy Crawford, if you're listening, it was worth the wait.
And for the listeners who are like, what is she talking about with Courtney Cox? I would go listen to our entire first season.
Right? There's not
did
enough
it-
time or energy to repeat any of that.
Did it bleed into second season? Maybe where
Maybe.
Allison, just a quick recap, Allison said something slightly embarrassing to Courtney Cox and didn't realize it until after the fact, and then proceeded to, by happenstance, run into the rest of the cast of Friends over like a 5-year period and repeat this story.
Yeah.
So
We
but
don't have to rehash it. Just keep
No.
in mind, I'm still seeking Courtney Cox for closure with that interaction.
And we did stalk her on the podcast. Like
We
we
did.
tried
We
we
did.
tried to talk to everyone. Because she went to she grew up in Birmingham where we grew up. We were able to talk to all these people who knew her through different ages, but then it just kind of petered away, that whole stalking of Courtney Cox. And
Yeah, I think people got tired of us talking about it too. So it's
Yeah.
okay. I
And
haven't
so-
given up. I just haven't been really vocal about it.
yeah. Well, it's so keep at it. But uh, I get like the opposite around celebrities. Like it's surprising, but I get super shy. I don't even want to say anything to them. And I've had 2 regrets of not saying things. Number 1, years ago we were in Charleston on vacation, and we were at like a grocery store, and Bill Murray was there.
Oh, I love him.
So he was like, and I saw him from like 30 feet away, And then I had this big idea of getting Murray to go up to him and being like, I am your namesake, or you're my namesake.
Oh, that's funny.
And then we couldn't find him. So regret not saying anything to Bill Murray. And then the second one was in college when Rent, the Broadway show Rent, was on tour and they were in Boston. We would get what they called rush tickets, which is you basically stay up all night and get in line and get these $25 tickets, and you would get in the second row of
Oh,
the
wow.
show. It was awesome. So we went, and who was sitting in the third row behind us? Carol Burnett.
No.
Yeah, with
Did you
her,
pull your ear and wink at her?
no, and her daughter was in the show. Her
Oh,
daughter
my
was on the
gosh.
cast, and I was just like staring, and I didn't even take a picture of her. I didn't say hi. I was just like, oh my God, that's Carol Burnett, and that is like that's an even bigger regret.
I regret
Bill
that for
Murray.
you.
I
Yeah.
know it was a mistake.
She is iconic.
But
Carol Burnett.
I tell you, the next famous person that I see, I will absorb all of my inner Allie and go up to them and say something ridiculous so I can
Yeah.
talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Look, here's the reality of it. The famous people that you may or may not accost will never remember that interaction, and you will never forget it. So if it makes a good story, folks, carpe diem. Just do it. Just do it.
Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis and Tell podcast. Don't forget to share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your foes. Have a happy new year and a great holiday season.
Yeah. Happy holidays to everyone. No matter what you celebrate, may it be joyful, happy, and healthy. Have an incredible new year. We will see you in 2023, or at least we will talk to you in 2023. For now, this has been Amanda and Allison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.
Sis and Tell.
Tell your friend Veronica, it's time to celebrate Hanukkah. I hope I get a harmonica on this lovely, lovely Hanukkah. So drink your gin and tonica, but don't smoke marijuana. If you really, really wanna, have a happy, 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 happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Thank you.